Okay, we're back. This is the second segment. We're going to talk about the NFL playoffs now. This is Take to the House with Drew Robinson and Alex Deitz again joining me to talk about football. We've kind of wrapped up our college football discussion. We had six, right? We had
Right.
6 games the last 3 days. It ended up being 2-2-2. It was going to be 2-3-1,
Right.
but Buffalo got bumped to Monday. Alex, let's start with the early games that we saw. First, what did you think about? Let's see.
Browns.
Yeah,
Browns Texans.
yeah. The Browns Texans was the first one.
Right. Well, I thought I picked the Browns to win. I thought it'd be a little closer, even if they were to lose. I just was feeling like experience in their defense. Is one of the top-rated defenses all year, and so going into that game, Joe Flacco has been playing some solid football. He'd been throwing it away a little bit to the wrong team, but he still had won a Super Bowl, and I just felt like the experience in that situation would benefit them. However, C.J. Stroud and that young Texans offense is, the sight to see, and D'Amico Ryans and their defense. I've just been truly impressed with them as a whole, and I was shocked. I was not expecting, a blowout like that, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but I just couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, yeah, and then I guess the that evening the next game was Chiefs Dolphins.
Right.
What do you think about that one?
Uh, I've not been a believer in the Dolphins all year. I think they only had one win over 500, and I think that was the Cowboys. I believe I saw that the Jets even had 2 wins over teams with 500, and so I just felt like they're a fluke all year. And then in the cold weather, they've always struggled. I don't believe Tua is like a franchise guy. I think he's maybe a solid starting quarterback if someone goes down, but I don't think he's the guy, especially in the playoffs, to lead you to victories. And I was just pretty disappointed overall. The Dolphins didn't even really ever look like they had a chance in that game, and also the Chiefs' defense kind of suffocated them a little bit. I was really shocked in the game plan. The Miami Dolphins have one of the best run games in the league, and I think their two stars combined for maybe 15 carries. So I don't really know what coach was thinking about. Is it Mike McDaniel, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That just felt like a weird game plan to me, just to put it all on Tua. And then I thought the Chiefs finally had a little bit of rhythm on offense. Rashee Rice is kind of coming into his own. He's looked really good. I think it was good for Mahomes, too. I thought he looked pretty well and starting to get hot at the right time. So that was my overall thoughts on that. How about you?
Yeah, well, so for the first day, I was a little disappointed in this way. I felt like, you look at a playoff game and it's, quote, playoff speed, right?
Right.
Everything's more intense. Everything comes down to win or go home. And I felt like um, the Texans, although they were solid, and the Chiefs were solid, the Browns and the Dolphins more lost those games
Yeah.
than the Chiefs and the Texans won those games. The game was. I mean, the Texans had a couple of great series early on,
Right.
and the Browns were kind of hanging in there.
Right.
And then I think it was right at the end of the first half, just 2 pick sixes,
Right. And
just bam, bam.
that's true. That's a killer.
And then it's just like, okay, well now your whole game plan is gone.
Right. Yeah.
And we did say Joe Flacco had thrown some picks,
Right.
in spite of his, wins, and that he kind of did what people were not expecting in terms of coming in.
Right.
He had been throwing some picks, and then Tua, um, the Dolphins game kind of reminded me of a very athletic team. It used to be that when AstroTurf was just carpet,
Wow.
and they showed or they had the St. Louis Rams with Kurt Warner.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
called the greatest show on
Greatest
turf.
show on turf. Yeah, I remember that.
And the reason it was called that, and I'm not quite sure of the technology of the turf, which that was what 1999, 2000. if it was exactly carpet, I think it was already advanced to a little bit better than just carpet the way it was in the 80s. But it used to be that if you had speed, you wanted to be on the carpet.
Right.
And if you were a team that had speed and you were on the road and you had a great passing game, your biggest friends were rain, mud, and thick, deep, long grass.
Right.
And it used to be in high school that they would actually let the grass grow higher
Yeah.
to slow
Slow you
down the
down.
faster teams.
Right. Wow.
And it was even a thing that Chuck Noll used to do that John Madden used to complain about when the Raiders in the 70s would go play the Steelers and it was carpet. But he said what Chuck Noll used to do is he used to just turn on the hose the night
Oh, it'd
before
be
just to
freezing.
make the turf solid ice
Wow.
because the Steelers were a little bit more of a running game
Right.
team. You know, they had big play guys, but Stabler and Cliff Branch and Bolitnikoff and Casper, those guys were a little bit more. They had probably a more consistent passing game, and they always thought that the Steelers were trying to cheat and give themselves an advantage
Right.
by freezing it. But anyway, it looked like Miami, Tyreek Hill, it looked like they were bothered by the temperature.
Definitely.
I don't know if it was the temperature or the crowd or the fact that Tua is not, a prototypical NFL 6'4", 240-pound, Elway sized,
Right.
Josh Allen sized quarterback that just doesn't get flustered by the elements. But he did not look comfortable.
No, he did not.
And the whole team did not look comfortable. And we'll get to yesterday in a second. But I felt like that was the same thing with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think the Eagles had a lot more going on that was negative, probably than any team in the playoffs. But moving on, then we had the Ravens, the 49ers had the byes, but then we had Packers, Cowboys, and then we had Lions, Rams. What were your
Right.
thoughts on those two games from Saturday?
Packers and Cowboys was a definite shock. I'm in my picks, as a Green Bay fan, I'd picked them to win the game. However, just in totality, I really had picked the Cowboys to get to the Super Bowl. I thought with their roster, I fell victim to this is their year, and just for them to come out pretty flat and Green Bay, just with that young receiving group, just dicing them up. Jordan Love looked really good again. And I was really impressed by their passing game. I thought Dallas, I think it could have been, you just kind of overlook your first round opponent.
Right.
You look into next week. And I think Green Bay did a good job with their coverages and defense, mixing things up. And so, just pretty disappointed. Even though I'm happy as a Green Bay fan, I was really wanting a better game. Playoff football is supposed to be gritty in these close games. And this weekend, like you said, like it's just, we had several blowouts and just it's not typical for playoff football. And then the Lions, I'm really happy for them. Jared Goff looked really good. Two running back combination looked good. I thought they just played a complete game. I think Dan Campbell's done a great job with that organization. The Rams kept it interesting and tough to see Matt Stafford lose. Probably like what took so long, but I think just as a football fan in general, I think most people are very happy, as am I, for the
Yeah,
Lions.
well, that was the game that we had been waiting for.
Right.
We had three kind of dud games, and before leaving the Dallas Green Bay discussion, yeah, I kind of feel like you picked Green Bay, I picked Miami, and I kind of felt like both of us were kind of picking with our hearts on
Right.
those games
Yeah.
because I picked Dallas, but I don't think you felt great about your Green Bay pick.
No, I
I
did
never
not.
felt great about my Miami pick, but I thought maybe the Chiefs would stub their toe, and they did not. So anyway, the Cowboys they're starting to feel like the playoff version of the Super Bowl Bills of the
Right.
'90s, and
Then they
it's
were
like
four Super Bowls
as soon
ago.
as they get there, it's almost. And I remember the last couple of ones that were Dallas actually. Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, Jimmy Johnson beat the Bills twice, and the last one I think was like 52-10 or something.
Golly.
But it was just nobody in the world thought the Bills had a chance. And
Well,
the funny thing is, the Bills were a great team,
yeah.
but nobody thought they had a chance because, and I think that last one was actually Barry Switzer. It wasn't even Jimmy Johnson. So, but the Cowboys just had all the confidence. They had already won two. They knew they were great. They had not just those three, but they had great defensive players. They had probably, arguably, the best offensive line ever assembled. And they knew they were gonna win. And it's like even if it's been 4 or 5 years, it's like with Dallas, it's like okay, you know what you're gonna get.
Right.
You know that Dallas is, um, they're the pretty boy that doesn't know how to change a tire
Right.
that you're concerned about when your daughter brings him home. You're like the guy doesn't know how to really make a living. The guy is not reliable. He looks good and he's exciting and he's got a great smile and he's friendly to everybody. But you want your daughter to find somebody who's going to get it done
Right.
when life gets tough.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys haven't been able to get it done in the playoffs. And I don't know. I have not analyzed Dak Prescott enough. I know the debate's been going on for a long time about whether he's the real deal or not. I don't think that Dak Prescott single handedly cost him the game.
No.
But you know what? It's interesting what a quarterback's role really is, and I think as we move on and obviously the second game Saturday, I tell you who I was probably more impressed with than anybody was Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And I don't watch Matt Stafford. I would say out of all the quarterbacks over the last 10 years, I've probably watched Matt Stafford the least because
Yeah.
I've never really got into watching the Lions all
Right.
those years. Although I went back and saw some stuff. He was incredible.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He was unbelievable, and he was great that the other night. I mean, with the ribs and the knuckle and the blood coming
I
out of his
know.
throwing hand, and I just feel like the Rams didn't have the running game.
Yeah.
I felt like the Rams ultimately lacked the protection, and kind of like Michigan. It's the Michigan Detroit is in Michigan, and
Right.
Michigan has been a year of smash mouth
Yeah.
football. And from the day one, when I watched the Detroit Lions smack the Chiefs in the face, that first game of the
Right.
season, I said these Lions look like they are for real.
Yeah.
And then you keep watching the season unfold, and yeah, they had a little letdown on Thanksgiving.
Right.
Who
Against
beat
Green
them?
Bay.
Green
Green
Bay,
Bay.
yeah. And I was like, that didn't look good. But then
Right.
you just kind of see this team rally and the way they are coming together. They are a scary team, and I'm a
Right.
Bucks fan, and I'm very nervous about this next week, and I'm nervous for a couple reasons. But to wrap up on Saturday, Rams Lions, great game.
Yeah.
Cowboys, unreliable. And then, day one was just two teams that kind of laid an egg, I thought. And then
Yeah.
day three, let's go to the Bills and the Steelers and the Bucks and the Eagles. And I'll start on yesterday, Monday, talking about those two, and then I'll let you take it. But the same thing still concerns me about the Bills that has concerned me about them all year. And that is Josh Allen is the show.
Right.
And they've got good players around him. I'm not saying they're not a well-rounded team, but Josh Allen made a couple of great plays, and I credit him. I don't mean to take anything away from him, but man, is it hard to defend. Not only is it hard to defend a quarterback that can run, but it's especially hard in an era when you don't know if he's going to slide.
Right.
You're always worried about a 15-yard penalty. Nobody feels like they can even try to hit it.
Right.
Because the worst thing that can happen is you nail him.
Right.
And you get, I mean, I guess in the NFL you don't get tossed, but a 15-yard penalty. And it's like you could see on that long run, again, great run, great play. He's a really tough runner. But on that play, about 20 yards downfield, you could see three guys just kind of pull up
Right.
and just let him run. And he didn't even fake the slide really. He just kind of stutter
No.
stepped and then took
Everyone,
off.
the C
But
part
I
of
don't know as a defender, and I was always an offensive guy, and I was not a runner like Josh Allen can run, except maybe sixth grade. I
it.
was good. I
Right.
was a good runner in sixth grade. But once I got to high school and college, I mean, I was a thrower and I was a get down, kind of guy. But Josh Allen, I don't know how you defend him.
No.
However, when you do take him away, when you do spy, you take away the speed part of it,
Right.
and you force him to throw and be uncomfortable. Um, the Bills' offense is not good,
Right.
and so we've seen him do things this year that have been, forcing the football, starting to try to
Yes.
do everything on his own, and that doesn't work in the NFL. And so, I'm going to be pulling for him against the Chiefs, but if Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over and Mahomes, they can frustrate Mahomes, then and it's in Buffalo.
Buffalo for once, right?
I think the Bills have a chance. I also think it's very interesting with that matchup because, well, I don't want to get into next week quite yet, but the Steelers, they did the best they could.
Yes.
I mean, I don't look at the Steelers and say, oh,
Right.
Tomlin's a bad coach, or oh, yeah. I mean, they didn't have Watt. That made a
Right.
big
And
difference
that's
on
a huge
defense.
thing. Yeah.
But Rudolph played his heart out. He
Right.
did as well as he could do. Harris, a running back, and the Steelers just aren't. They were lucky to get in the playoffs. I
Yes,
mean,
they
let's
were.
just be honest. And
Yeah.
then last night, I was thrilled because I was expecting. I picked the Bucks really more with my heart, but I was expecting uh, the Eagles to pull it together because I just feel like they're a better team. But the Eagles
Oof.
are just in the biggest funk I've ever seen a team in. They were terrible.
Unbelievable.
They were terrible fundamentally. I watched the game and then I went back and watched Peyton and Eli
Okay.
with they had Bruce Arians in there and they had
Oh yeah.
Ray Lewis
Yes.
and they they're kind of silly a lot of the time, but they were talking a lot of football, which I really appreciated. And I do think the Bucks deserve a lot of credit. I think Baker Mayfield is doing what, even though Josh Allen is way more talented of a runner,
Right.
I think Josh Allen would do well to have Baker's mentality.
Right.
Because Baker wants to run over people, but he has disciplined himself to say, I don't want to be hobbling around. He's
Right.
already a little banged up, but
Yep.
Baker's a small enough guy that if he gets tangled up too many times,
He's
he's not
gonna
going to be
be
able to stay in the game.
100%.
And he's tough. I mean, his teammates love him. He's a great leader. He's tough. The thing that was interesting was they did not even get Evans or Godwin going.
Right.
But Otten, the tight end, had a ton of great plays.
Yes, he
They had
did.
great plays from Palmer and Moore, the other receiver, and they had a bunch of drops. But the defense for the Bucks was lights
Yes, they
out.
were.
And yeah, so the Bucks deserve credit. I'm not gonna get any smoke any cigars yet because I know that the Lions are a better team than the Bucks. The Lions are playing at home. The Bucks have to hope that they can force some problems from Goff. They
Right.
have played the Lions earlier in the year, so I hope they can do something with that. But do you have any other thoughts on those two games from yesterday?
Yeah, I think once again, just the Eagles' run game felt like they tried to abandon it a little too early. I think DeAndre Swift is a very underrated running back, and they have a couple guys that can make some plays out of the backfield. And when the Bucks, are making some big plays, like I feel like you at least got to slow them down by taking the ball out of their hands, if nothing else. And there just felt like some quick possessions, and Baker felt like he could really do no wrong. I thought he looked really good. Just his maturity. I was talking last night with some of my friends about it, how far he's come. And he's always been like a rah rah guy, and I think a good leader with the players. But just like his body language, his attitude, and like I'm like impressed, and I've been like a doubter of Baker, so to see him play well, these last few weeks, and really have this season that I didn't really see coming. It's been really cool to see, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for the Bucks, and I think they have a shot. I think it helps that they're playing indoors again; they don't have to worry about cold weather football yet. And anytime you're a southern team, and you can play controlled weather, I think that still gives you an advantage. So
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is uh, the Lions and the Bucks look like a team. Those look like two unified,
yeah,
playing as a unit teams. The leadership, the coaches, the quarterback, everybody going down the line. Those two teams are playing together.
right,
I think the Packers and the Texans, the Texans have probably had a better year overall, maybe, than the Packers. But I feel like Jordan Love and CJ Stroud are so young. And even with the great year that CJ Stroud has had, sometimes we see a lot of young quarterbacks kind of have a flash in the pan season
right,
and then kind of take a step back. Even Mahomes and Josh Allen
yeah,
have not been as great as they've been at points in their past, and they're still young
right.
quarterbacks,
When
pretty young.
you get film and you can study how to,
That's right. That's right. That was the thing with the Vikings, right? When Cousins came
oh
out and they
yeah,
got Josh Dobbs in there, and he was great for
right,
2 weeks. I
right,
was like, just wait till they study the film. Like they're gonna shut him down. But I think Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud have got huge upside potential.
yeah,
And I think the both of them with their first playoff game, getting that win last week, is huge. Um, San Francisco is a great team, but I was shocked and still have sort of, if I'm John Lynch or if I'm
Kyle Shanahan,
yeah, Shanahan, or yeah, I'm having a little bit of maybe staying up at night thinking about that Ravens game.
right,
Um, I don't know that having a week off necessarily helps the Niners or the Ravens for that
right,
matter, but the Ravens have been super hot. The Niners have been very good all year. So I don't know. I expect the 49ers to take care of things, but let's pause and come back to a final segment and talk about the weeks that are coming up, and then wrap up. So let's go ahead and pause here. We'll be back in a second on Take It to the House.